What is up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? I just got done doing Jessica Jones episode 8, aka What Would You Do, or What Would Jessica Do? And I just am going to give you my thoughts on this thing. We're going to talk about some positive, some negative, some nitpicks, some questions, whatever you want to talk about. But here it is in this episode, Jessica Jones. And if you're asking why I'm wearing glasses, don't worry about the glasses. It's not a big deal. Just pay attention to the review. But in this episode, Jessica Jones, Kilgrave, as we saw in the previous episode, he bought Jessica Jones's house. And now he apparently fixed it up. He arranged it just like Jessica Jones actually knew it as a child. And we're talking about from everything from picture frames to, wall colors to everything. Her room, her posters, they're all intact for some reason. Now, Kilgrave in this episode, before I get to that, this episode really was, it started out, I thought, as an origin of Jessica Jones. But then it quickly became an episode about Kilgrave, which I really enjoy because Kilgrave has pretty much been in the shadows for what we know. He pretty much has not been, he's been developed, but he's been developed through stories, and not necessarily the stories that we know from him, but, from stories from other people. So we don't exactly know what's true, what's not true, whatever it may be. But in this episode, we actually did find out about Kilgrave, and dare I say, we actually felt some sympathy for Kilgrave. I never thought I'd be saying that. Last time I thought I felt sympathy for someone that was that, psychotic and crazy and, murderous was probably the Joker in, Arkham City when his death was. I never thought I'd feel sorry, but in this episode, I felt sorry for Kilgrave. Now, pretty much some things that we learned in this episode was that Jessica Jones apparently was a fan of Nirvana. Now, don't get me wrong, that's a big positive in my book. Who doesn't like Nirvana? Come on. Nirvana's awesome. Kurt Cobain, rest in peace. But yeah, some things that I did not really like in this episode was, for some reason, I'm starting to think that the Hope stuff in jail is starting to just become a burden. It's starting to seem like they don't want necessarily to get to it, or they're just like waiting for the last moment to actually get to it. It's not. It's starting to seem like it's just nothing there. Now, I'm sure they have something planned, but for right now, it's starting to seem like, especially for this episode and the last episode, they didn't show anything really about it. So I just thought, hey, maybe it's starting to seem like they're starting to forget about it. But who knows? Maybe they got something planned. Whatever. But that's just my thing. Another thing, the Jerry stuff, her divorce hearing or the settlement or whatever it was, I thought it was a nice scene, I guess, for the most part. Carrie-Anne Moss, like I said, I'm a fan of hers, and the woman that plays her ex, she was very good in the scene, but at the same time, the more I see it, the more I can honestly say that this shit on the show is actually probably the worst part of it. It just seems like the most pointless thing on this episode. Now, this episode was a great episode, but obviously no episode is without faults. It may be some slight things, but there was only a couple of things on here that really bothered me. But yeah, it's starting to seem like they're not really going anywhere with this storyline. Or actually, I'm not going to say it doesn't seem like they're going anywhere, but it seems like it's just kind of holding the show back for valuable time for something that could be better. That's my point, They're wasting time on this where it could be something else, Nobody wants to see Pam and Hogarth play footsie. Just saying. Another thing on this episode was that, Jessica Jones and Kilgrave, they have these conversations. Now she has to kind of accept living there. So, Kilgrave kind of throws his words, flip-flops his words, because Jessica Jones says, while they're having dinner, she says, "You're the reason why I drink." And then Kilgrave was saying, no, I'm not the reason why you drink. Don't blame that on me. I told you to take care of Luke's wife, take care as, I guess, do something. But he didn't specify as to what it may be. She decided to kill. She decided that take care of meant kill. So, it's like Pulp Fiction. Take care of, take out, whatever. But you get my point with that. But yeah, I thought that was a very interesting thing. So could it have been, could it have actually been Jessica that killed Luke's wife without really the mind control of it? Also, another thing, not a positive per an actual standpoint, but from a story standpoint, it was a positive where we learned that Kilgrave actually mind controlled Jessica Jones to have sex with him. So this was a very interesting way that they kind of showed rape. They didn't dabble on it and just like beat you over the head that Jessica Jones was raped by Kilgrave. But he pretty much forced her to have sexual desires on him, which she obviously does not, or maybe she does, who knows. But from what we can tell, she did not have sexual desires with Kilgrave or any sexual intentions. She was just controlled. She was taken advantage of. She was, forced to do this. So she was pretty much raped, and they tested on that. And then we saw a couple of flashbacks. Another thing I liked was the dream sequence where it was Jessica Jones and her family. She's seeing her brother and her mother and the father, and they're all like saying, "Come on, let's go, Jessica." And then they all start to blame her, and then it's kind of a very kind of creepy scene where the brother is bleeding, and then the mother's bleeding, and everybody's just like bleeding ridiculously. It was a very kind of creepy scene, but they pulled it off very well, and I thought that was actually one of the highlights of this episode. We also got to see the accident of Jessica Jones, and in a way, I guess she kind of was, just like looking at it from the way they showed it, but she kind of was the cause of it because her and her brother, they're arguing about the Game Boy. Boy's that old. But arguing about the Game Boy, and then her father's turning around, and his father's driving. Obviously, you're not supposed to turn around while you're driving. He turns, and then they crash, and then obviously, could that be how she got her powers? Like in the comics, who knows? But we'll see in the next episode. But, some other things I'm going to be looking at notes here because there's a lot of stuff to talk about. I don't know what the hell is the deal with Simpson. He still gives me off that like weird, just weird vibe. He comes off as the guy that he seemed like he was always fucked up before Kilgrave even got his hands on him. That's just my opinion. Also, it just seems like because when Trish said she hasn't seen him in a while and like everybody's leaving, Simpson took a leave of absence. This is something that I wanted to kind of put in my reviews before, but Simpson hasn't been working in the police station since probably the first time they met him. After that, I don't know what police officer takes that many days off. Then he takes a leave of absence. I'm pretty sure he's fired right now. Like, come on. Like, the guy was not working. The only thing he was working on is between Trish's legs. That was it. He's mumbling the words. He was saying the alphabets. And he was laying it down. But other than that, he was not laying down the law. He was just doing that with Jessica Jones. So taking a leave of absence and having so many days off because you don't see him working. Except the first episode they see him. He has the uniform, he has that. But other than that, he's never working. Another thing is, Mr. Luca kind of didn't really work for me. Obviously, she played a bigger part, I guess. She really moved around towards the end of the episode where, Kilgrave and Jessica Jones are having this breakfast, and Mr. Luca, the nosy neighbor, for some reason she just pissed me off because she stole the bacon. She just randomly came up and she decided to take bacon. Was it Kilgrave telling her to take it? It was just her. Her nosy, old ass, just asking for bacon. I thought that was funny, but yeah. Simpson eventually runs into Jessica Jones and tries to save her. For some reason, it seems like Simpson is just one big fuck up after the other, and he seems like he's more dumb than not. So when he runs into Jessica trying to save her, she says she's not mind controlled, and then Simpson says, "I'm getting you out of here. You don't know what you're saying. You're mind controlled or whatnot." Now, when they were going back and forth, and this is kind of a negative to me or a nitpick where when they were going back and forth and they were kind of like, twisting holds and whatnot, I don't understand how he sometimes got the upper hand on Jessica Jones. That didn't make any sense. Luke Cage getting the upper hand made sense. Jessica Jones and Simpson, the cop, which is, a normal human being, getting the upper hand and twisting her and she kind of feeling hurt a bit, I say no. Bullets can hurt her, but not normal humans. It's like the exact same thing when, Kilgrave's guards, were electrocuting Jessica Jones. It just didn't make any sense to me, but whatever. Another thing was, we got to see the origin of Kilgrave. When we saw Luke Cage's wife and when Jessica was getting the briefcase, well, not briefcase, but the vault of the evidence that Kilgrave wanted from, Luke's wife, it actually turns out that it was a flash drive. Now, Kilgrave was saying that you think I wanted this? You think I wanted to rape you? I didn't want to be this monster. I was made into this monster. So they show it a flash drive, and we see that Kilgrave was just a regular kid, and then his parents were scientists. He mentioned it in this episode that he hated his parents, and then his parents were like scientists, and then they put experiments on Kilgrave to give him these powers, these kind of mind-controlling things. And then that kind of just, triggered his powers. They kind of made him this monster. Then they eventually ran away and they left the 10-year-old boy, and he blames them for being this bad guy. Then Jessica Jones tries to say, okay, well, maybe you do got some good. So there's this news story where it's hostage crisis. So they go out there. Kilgrave tries to do some good, and he stops the hostage situation, the man from killing his wife and kids, and then he starts to feel a little good. But then Jessica Jones, I can't take it anymore. She has to take things in her own hands. She doesn't want to feel like a prisoner. So, obviously she goes to her moral compass. She goes to Trish. She gets some advice and whatnot. But yeah. Also, for me, in this episode specifically, Jessica Jones mentioned happiness as her happiness was her home. And that's why Kilgrave pretty much fixed it exactly the way it was. Kilgrave is taking obsession to a whole nother level in this episode and going on. And also David Tennant, I feel like this guy I mentioned him probably almost every review, but David Tennant just keeps on getting better and better. It's like the more times we see him, he really is like stepping up. But the only thing is, the first few episodes, Kilgrave seemed like he was very, not menacing, but very creepy, but he did have a menacing factor. And I think as the episodes went along, as we got to see him more step out into the light, he kind of became more of a sympathetic villain and almost like a comic relief slightly, but at the same time being very creepy because he can kill you just like that, But yeah, so that was the thing. And then going back to when Simpson met Jessica Jones, he said he planted a bomb. Kilgrave said he has to trust Jessica Jones. So she tells him that Simpson planted a bomb. Simpson was not there. He left. So therefore, fast forward to the episode with Mr. Luca when Jessica Jones comes back after getting advice from Trish. She actually drugs Kilgrave once again with the shot or whatever they try to give, the knockout thing. So she does that. She's taking him out of there. And Simpson and his boys, his army buddies or whatever it may be, they come after, Jessica Jones and said there's nowhere to go. And then what do you know? I guess she flies or she just jumps very high like Hulk. And she just jumps and she's out of there and then whatever. And then Mr. Luca, she makes another random appearance. So she comes in and she said, and I already knew this was going to happen because I was just like, this just seems like it was too obvious. So she says, Kilgrave said, I have something for you. And it was a small bag and it actually turned out it was the bomb that Thompson, put inside the house. And then it had the detonator. She exploded it. Mr. Luca went everywhere. She really blew up in this episode. So, and then we see Thompson kind of, I think, with glass into his sternum. And is he dead? I doubt it. Will he become back into a disfigured man? Who knows? But yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. We got to see a bit more of, we got to see more of Jessica Jones' origin. We got to see more of Kilgrave's origin. We also got to feel more sympathy for Kilgrave. Because sometimes the best villains, right? The best villains are the ones that we can actually see both sides of the coin to their methods. We can see the good, we can see the bad. If you can see that, I think that makes a good villain. And I think that's what Kilgrave is. Right now, Kilgrave, to me, I kind of like Kilgrave more than Kingpin, for me, personally. Because Kingpin, though he was great and all, to me, the whole kind of talking kind of like this, Wesley. Now, for me, it just kind of got annoying. I like David Tennant's energy and what he's bringing to the role. To me, I prefer Kilgrave. But those are my thoughts on Jessica Jones episode 8. AKA, what would Jessica do? What would Jessica do? Or what would you do? What would you do? But either way, I'm Chris Smith. This is episode 8. As I said, I'm going to be finishing this thing up. It's been taking a while, but I'm still going to get it done. Comment, subscribe, like that shit. Share it if you want to. Just get it done. Let's build my subscribers up. It really is depending on you people. So thank you for subscribing for those people. And for the future people that are watching this video that haven't subscribed, I say, what are you doing? Help me out to help you to bring more content out there. You people are the key. Thank you. I've been Chris Smith, and I'm signing out.